kind of, yeah, so we are recording. I forgot to tell Casey to do that, but charting the life course is kind of a life planning framework, set of tools. It's created for all people and families. It's created for people of all ages, all skill sets. It's created to help people explore their life possibilities, share ideas, set expectations, navigate the future, advocate, problem solve, and plan. So the core belief, are you guys able to see my PowerPoint?
Yep.
Casey,
Yeah, I can see
shake
it.
your head no.
Yes.
I was
Well,
saying
it's
last
just white.
It's white
Is that
now.
right?
Okay,
The
that's
last
okay.
So the
was
last page.
fine.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let me,
Yes, core beliefs.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
hold on. All right, I'm gonna go back into it and make sure that,
You could just leave it like this too. It's not as
Okay.
big, but
okay.
We can get it.
All right, we'll try this for now. So the core belief is that all people have the right to live, love, work, play, and pursue their own life aspirations. Charting the life course was designed for people with intellectual developmental disabilities to kind of share what they want out of life, help give them a voice. But then quickly they realized that everyone can kind of benefit from this framework. It's kind of like this was made for people with disabilities, but we all know that our children with disabilities has affected our life too. So we need to have a say in it. We need to have a say in what's going on as well as them. And we can all kind of work together as a family unit instead of leaving everyone individualized. So today we're going to talk about life trajectory. Really just keep thinking about that arrow. So you have an arrow and every decision in your life kind of points you in a way that you want to go, or it propels you to where you don't want to go. If you think about it, everything that we're doing every day is either benefiting us or it's making us take a step back. And every decision we make, affects the outcome and what's going to happen in the future. And so thinking about the trajectory is just kind of thinking about what is going to happen in the future and how the day-to-day affects the future. So vision for a good life is what I want for quality of life. The future is not something that just happens to us. The future is something that we create. It requires us to make choices and decisions that begin with a dream. I wish I had wrote down my statistics, but I actually forgot. But I had wrote down earlier this year that whenever you write down like a goal or something on a piece of paper, I think it's like 60% more likely for you to actually achieve that goal and actually work towards that goal. So I think that there's something to be said about what we're doing, printing out this paper, writing our goals and visions down, because it turns into a plan instead of just a dream. So we were just talking about our dream vacations, and it's all fun to think about. And some of that stuff might happen. Some of it's just pipe dreams that we have. But if you do want something to happen, I feel like it's really important to come here, write it down on paper, and then you can actually see whether it's something that could become a reality or not for you. So this is what I want for a good life. But then you can also think about what do you don't want. If you were just to come up and ask me, what do you want out of your life? I might start stuttering. I might not know what to say, especially with our kids. You never really know what you're going to get day to day. I know I can't tell you what 10 years. I really hate it when doctors say, like, what do you want or where do you see yourself? I hate those questions because I don't know what 10 years is going to look like for my family. I don't know what 5 years is going to look for my family. And I don't really even know what 1 year is going to look like for my family. We all live in very turbulent times. Like Danielle was saying, they were just in the hospital a couple weeks ago, and you never know when that's going to happen to you too. So I think that it's really easy for us to just kind of get overwhelmed in like thinking about the future. And so if we kind of make this a smaller do smaller pieces at a time instead of looking at great big pictures, it really helps. I might not be able to tell you what I want in 5 years. I might not be able to tell you what I want in 1 year, but maybe I can tell you what I don't want. The things that I don't want could often be, sorry, I keep clicking. My PowerPoint is all messed up on me right now. I'm sorry. So what I don't want is things like isolation, loneliness, poverty, lack of control, things like that, things that we all want out of life. I think every single person can agree that we want friends, we want family, we want to have enough money to do the things we want, to live comfortably. We want to have a nice home. We were just talking about how we want vacations. We, of course, want health. For all of us, health looks a little bit different than to other people, but we all have our own definition of what our family's health is. We all want choice, freedoms. That's something that everyone wants. And that just goes back to that core belief that all people have a right to these things. So I don't know if you guys printed out your trajectories, but I sent 2 different trajectories, and it does not matter which one you printed out. They both essentially do the same thing. But the first one we're going to talk about is the trajectory for exploring. I'm going to toggle back and forth here. So this is what the trajectory for exploring looks like. You have this simple arrow that goes up. The arrow is pointing towards what you want. And then at the bottom, there is what I don't want. So the trajectory for exploring helps you create a vision for your good life. It provides space to explore the things that are going well. And then it helps you explore the things that are stopping you from reaching your good life. So on this tool, what we normally do is you can just write broadly what you do want, what you don't want. And then it's really easy. This is a good one if you just have your pen and paper out to kind of sketch things out. Things that could help you get to that purple area. What I do want, we're going to write above the arrow. And then the things that are keeping you from reaching your goals, you're going to write below the arrow. And it's just a good visual tool to help you see like the things that are projecting you in the right direction versus the wrong direction. So this is one sample that we have. Is there any questions about it?
No, in just listening to you talk, I'm going to do this with my 2 big kids and my husband, even just for our vacation on Monday.
Yes.
Like 19
Yes.
days in the trailer. What do you want to do and what don't you want to do?
Right. And I mean, even little things like, oh, I don't want to be bored. Okay, well, how do we not be bored? What are some things we can bring along? What are things that we can do to prepare in advance for, downtime on the drive or, just things like that.
I love this.
Okay,
is
so the next
same thing is this the same thing we did in that call?
Yeah, so this is the one that we did talk about their trajectory when we did one with Mary when she came in. But this is just kind of breaking it down again. So the second trajectory that I wanted to talk about, and I'll toggle back and forth between this one, this is the trajectory for planning. I feel like this one tends to be used more often just because it's a little bit more in depth. I'll be honest, when I started with this, I started with that first one just because it's a little bit simpler. You can kind of get the feel for what you're doing. But once you kind of figure out how to do it, I really like the planning tool, mainly because I'm a planner. And then also because it kind of gives you a few more boxes where you can really dive into things that are going to help you achieve your goals versus things that are going to keep you from achieving your goals. So the trajectory for planning, it helps you envision your good life and identify the steps and experiences needed to get there. The planning tool highlights past life experiences that are leaving or moving you away from your vision and then provides space for current goals and things to avoid moving forward. I don't think that I necessarily put that sample in there, but for instance, like during COVID, I made one about like isolation and COVID whenever we were in the heights of all of that. And it really helped me. I was able to really write down like the things that were keeping us from doing what we wanted. So my fears of getting sick, skipping holidays, things like that, all of those things were things I added into a planning trajectory so that I could see what I wanted, what I didn't want, and the things that could move me in each direction. Again, I sent this out with Shelly, but these are the tips for for completing your trajectory. I just want you guys to print these out and kind of go through this on your own. I won't go through all of the stuff, but if you're going to sit down later on and do your own trajectory, it really helps to kind of have these tips. There's no right or wrong way. It's a tool. Start with the vision boxes. Think long term. What's your good life? Short term. What do you want next year? Identify the things you want to avoid. Think about the things that need to happen for a successful transition, and then put them in small steps. So going back to this, usually what I do is write out my goals in purple, and then I look at each goal and I try to think about breaking it down into smaller categories to put in the boxes to the left. And I'll show you examples of that here in a second. Be sure to think about any barriers that you can proactively plan and problem solve. The trajectory is designed to be used over and over again. Make sure and adapt and just update it as often as you can. And then now I am going to try to blow this back up again. Let's see if my slideshow comes back up. Can you guys see that larger now? Okay. So this is actually one I made for Tate. I just wanted to start off with him since you guys are familiar with Tate. I made this trajectory. I think I shared it with our other group before, but it won't hurt to kind of look over it again. It was something I filled out in January for Tate. So I have kind of learned that along the way I do little trajectories, but I really like to do a goals for Tate or for our family or whatever. At the beginning of every year, it's kind of a good like kick off the new year, like resolution type scenario. So this is one I made for this year, goals for Tate for 2022. In the purple box, I started off broad. I want to help Tate communicate via some kind of switch button, eye gaze, something to that effect. I would like him to become an independent sitter. I want a good balance of therapy days, doctor's appointments versus days at home. I want a smooth transition from first steps to school-based therapy in August, which it seems crazy. I feel like I just filled this out and now we're in August and starting school next week. Participate in more outdoor activities. I wanted to vacation in 2022, and then I wanted to attend church regularly. The things I didn't want is I didn't want to have any hospital stays. I didn't want Tate to just lay supine all day. I don't want him to miss out on activities that just because it's hard to bring him. I don't want to continue for him to struggle in the car seat. And then I don't want to be stuck at home another year because of COVID. So like I said, I just put very broad things in these boxes, and then moving over to the other side, I list like past life experiences that actually helped us get where we are today. So I put first steps therapy. When we're over here, I had the goals about different therapy situations. So in my past life experiences, I put first steps therapy, hospital-based therapy, proper equipment to support him. Having the proper equipment that we need has helped project, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but to where we want to be. I have always been really mindful about scheduling of appointments and therapies, and that's helped me stay sane and get us where we want to be. Past life experiences that have helped is having accessible areas and activities that are here in our backyard. We bought a camper so that we could do things with Tate, and that has really helped our just us have a good life and have vacations and family time. He's got to go to Vacation Bible School. I quickly learned that sending him to Vacation Bible School every night was not really good for Tate, but having him there like 2 or 3 nights was perfect. And then having nursing support and help from my mom has been a great help to me and helped my good life. Things that didn't help our good life at the bottom was the global pandemic, poor hand hygiene, and then staying at home too many days in a row. I noticed when I stay home too many days in a row, my mental health kind of declines. And I feel like we all just are a little bit healthier mindset if we kind of get out and about a little bit. Moving forward, I wanted to offer more choices with switches and buttons. I wanted no more than like 3 appointments per week for Tate. Um, I wanted to watch videos on transitioning from like early intervention therapy to school-based therapy so that I knew what to expect. Um, I wanted to try to get outside daily when the temperature is above 60. This summer, it's actually been really hot around here. And so I feel like we've kind of been in a lull lately with that, but we have been outside a lot with Tate this year. You all know that I did get to go on my vacation that I had dreamed up in January of 2022, and that was successful. Um, I wrote down that I would like to let Tate attend the children's class at church with Mimi, and I thought that would be a good break for me, is to kind of send him off to the children's class without me having to go with him all the time. Things that could keep me from my goal is him to still not do well in the car seat. To take him to large public places and events might not be the best scenario. I don't want to be burned out. I don't want to do less activities just because I'm burned out and tired. I don't want to skip therapy just because I'm tired and don't feel like taking him. But then I also don't want to be too scared of germs. I feel like sometimes I overthink and I misses out on activities just because I'm too nervous about them. So this was a trajectory, and I won't go through all of them like this, but I just wanted to show you how I have the big goals over here in the purple and red, and then the other side is really just breaking them down into like step-by-step sort of scenarios. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so these are some more, like I said, I won't go through all of them and read them all to you, but a lot of you met my coworker, Mary. She filled out this one, and a couple weeks ago, we had looked at her self-care support star, but this is actually her trajectory that she filled out. So what does she want out of self-care? Most of you know her, but Mary is also a mother to someone with special needs, as well as other children as well. So she definitely has walked in our shoes. She has a full-time job and she's a very busy person. So she knows burnout and stress and all of that as well. She wants to feel energized. She wanted to join or start a book club. She wants to plan ahead for vacations. She wants to be someone's wife, mom, aunt, friend. She does not want to be discouraged when she wakes up in the morning. She doesn't want to feel exhausted. She's also, she does therapy for children and families. So it says, I don't want to feel irritated with my clients or be cynical. I don't want to feel a loss in professional efficacy. And then she broke it down over here into what she can actually do to get to those things. She can join a wellness program. She needs to create a healthy workplace. She needs to get enough sleep. She needs to meet up with her friends on a regular basis. She doesn't want to work. She's noticed in the past, if she works too many hours in 1 week, she gets burnt out. If she avoids her friends and family, it starts being detrimental. If she watches too much TV or overeats. Past life experiences that have helped her are fun days at work, reading daily, camping, cooking, gardening, cleaning and organizing the house, and walking daily. And then things that have pushed her in the past to not get what she wanted was not managing her to-do list. If she checks her emails after work or before work, it causes problems. Not taking her earned vacation, taking on too much workload, and not being able to wave the white flag. So if you knew my friend Mary, you would definitely see that she has some of these issues that she has to work through. But no offense, I also see some of those issues in you guys too, and also in myself. I think we can all kind of relate to these sort of things, especially working from home for me has been like the biggest blessing because it's allowed me to earn a paycheck and take care of Tate. But it's also a whole new world that I have to kind of figure out and navigate as well. So I think that if you do work from home, kind of writing some of this stuff down and planning out what that looks like and how you can do it healthily for you is definitely a good trajectory that you could start with. This one is, this trajectory is just specifically for a child. He had developmental disabilities. His name's Peyton. At this time, he was 13 years
Heather,
old. Yeah.
Heather, your screen's white.
Oh, dang it.
See this one?
I don't know why when I flip, it's not working. Is it better now?
Loading.
This might be because I'm outside too.
I want him to have friends, play sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So Peyton, age 13. If you'll see at the top, it says family perspective. Whenever you look at our tools, sometimes they say person-centered planning, but then sometimes they say family perspective. That's really just based on how you want to fill it out. If you want to fill it out just for yourself, you're planning for a specific person, but then sometimes you're looking at the person in the context of the family. So just kind of having some different mindsets as you're filling out this. This was a mom filling it out on behalf of her 13-year-old son. She wanted him to have friends. She wanted him to play sports, be happy. She wanted him to have choices in adult living situations. She wants him to know how to stay safe and feel accomplished. She did not want him to end up with no employment or a sheltered workshop. She didn't want him to end up in a group home with no choice in where to live or who to live with. She didn't want him to have a predetermined schedule with no choice or no say in what he does in his day-to-day life. She didn't want him to be sick. She doesn't want him to depend on only paid supports. She doesn't want him to be lonely, bored, or being controlled. Then she broke it down over in the side. It said, this is really nice because it kind of explains a little bit about her son. And she took the time to kind of write things about him. So it says, things that I would like my family members to work on, or things that would help us get there. Give him time to warm up to new people. And I feel like I don't even know Peyton, but when you read through this, you kind of get a sense of who Peyton is and what Peyton needs. And so it's really nice that she kind of wrote this all out. She wants to help others learn to have patience with Peyton and give him time to communicate in his own way. She wanted to help him know what is expected of him in various situations, help him have a routine, figure out how he can start a summer work experience and have increased opportunity. Things that would keep him from his good life is for people to have negative assumptions about his abilities, always have a caregiver or someone looking over his shoulder, or people being overprotective. She thought people might have low expectations from him. She didn't want him to be segregated. She didn't want him to feel abandoned, but she also didn't want him to not be allowed to take risk in order to learn. So these are all just kind of ways she kind of stepped through like what she wanted for his life. And I won't get too much into this, but I will say Peyton, this mom that filled this out is actually someone I worked with. She did all of the work. She filled all of these papers out for her son. She has so much information on him. Like I said, just reading through this, you kind of get a feel for who Peyton is. She also filled out the other tools that says, the supports he has, what he needs in his day-to-day, all of those things. And I do just want to be very blunt that my friend who filled this out, she died in a car crash a year ago. And so it was a freak accident. She was by herself and she was a single parent to two boys with disabilities. And so this is just really, really important because her family has now all of this paperwork and knows so much about her child and what her goals for her children were, and she's not here anymore. So it really just speaks volumes to how this can be used and how important it is for her family specifically. So I know that she's just kind of been, she's been on my mind as I fill my own stuff out for Tate, because you never know what can happen to us. And as moms, we all kind of bear the burden of having all of the knowledge. And so getting some of this knowledge and things like that down onto paper can really help take the stress load off, because even though that situation is still really a tough one, I feel like she made it easier by having everything organized ahead of time.
I like that too, that she did that, obviously not anticipating things
Right.
to happen, but also, for me, just coming off a weekend with my sisters and, as, in a will for one sister, like to be the caregiver for her 3 girls. And then my second sister asking us on the weekend informally to take care of her 2 boys if anything was to happen. It would be so nice to be like, yeah, I'll agree to it, but can you fill this out just a little bit so I know you're
What
big,
you want for them?
but
Yeah.
just the big things, right? Like, for us, language is important, that our children are always, spend a lot of time in the French community, but also that they, I think it's so important just even for the big things, not just the day-to-day things.
Right. I definitely agree. And stepping into like a caregiving situation of that boy who does have trouble communicating. I mean, reading through his mom's words and knowing that sometimes he takes a little bit more time to convey what he wants. Things like that are really imperative to know about him if you're going to end up spending more time with him. So I just love her trajectory and all of her paperwork that she had on him, because you just never know. Life isn't always fair, and it definitely wasn't in that scenario. We did say coming into this meeting that we were going to talk about like educational planning. That can be IEPs, that can be post-secondary, that can be early intervention, all of those things. So this one that I included, it's kind of a generic one. In the middle, you'll see the circle. It just says issue. So this one kind of walks through how to, like, if you just kind of want to, it's almost like a template. That's how I can best describe it. So in the purple section, it says, I want the same opportunities that peers have. I want less stressful days, less issues with blank. So you can kind of fill in that for your child, fill in what issues they have. You want a future consisting of blank. So you can take this into the school and say, okay, this is what my vision is. I want less stressful days. I want less issues with overstimulation, bullying, whatever, insert, et cetera, et cetera. I want a future consisting of my child having friends, my child being in the classroom, my child doing age appropriate activities. These are all things that you could insert into these blanks. I want a supportive team to help reach our goals. What I don't want him to not have opportunities for growth and learning. I don't want him to feel isolated without any friends. I don't want him to always struggle at school and not feel confident. Moving forward, things that have helped, for example, if there's any family situations that they need to know about, if there's any past IEP decisions that have either helped or hurt, you can fill those in the appropriate box. If you've had great teachers or instructors, you can write them down. If it's the same school system, you never know. Maybe the new teacher can go speak to an old teacher that had a great relationship with your kiddo, and they can give them tips and pointers. The team, things that might get in the way, the team not working together on our current needs, not coming up with a solution to help with blank. You could fill in anxiety, ADHD, reading comprehension, things like that. So I've included this and we'll also send it in the follow-up email, but this is just kind of a template to kind of help you get brainstorming for if you were wanting to take a trajectory into an educational meeting with you and didn't know where to start. I feel like this one really just helps you kind of gives you questions to ponder where you can fill your own out. And then it's doing it again. So this one that's coming up is a trajectory for an IEP meeting for a little boy named Tyson. Same scenario. How can we help Tyson identify his feelings? How can we help him speak up for himself? How can we help him address transition needs to middle school? How can we help him build up his confidence? what I don't want for Tyson. I don't want him to not enjoy school. I don't want him to feel unsafe. I don't want him to struggle daily. Then, at the bottom over here, they put things that have been barriers. Transitions are hard for him. He's a repetitive learner. Triggers can be sensory or emotions. They've had problems in the past of his IEP not being followed. Up in the top, things that have worked is different types of therapy has worked for him. He had a counselor at Burrell that was helpful. Open communication with the school was helpful. Working on things at home to reduce his anxiety, yoga, deep pressure, those kinds of things helped. So is this all kind of making sense for your big goals are on the right side, but then the small steps are over here to the other side? It does make sense. Okay. I'm trying not to just read through every single line for you guys. Again, this is one that you can go back and look at. This is a transition to a 14-year-old. She wants, she's transitioning probably to like high school, I'm guessing. Better communication. She wanted her parents to treat her like an equal member of the team. If a peer is not an option, she wants more peer mentoring and support. She listed out the things she wants to work on at school, things she doesn't want to work on at school. She doesn't want to do life skills. She said this is embedded through her day-to-day. She doesn't want life skills used as fillers. She doesn't want to play with preschool toys. She doesn't want to people to do things for her that she can do herself. She doesn't want to wear any kind of bib. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to this because when your child is in special needs classrooms, a lot of times they get treated as toddlers and preschool age, even when they're up into high school. And so I just love that she wrote out all the stuff and really, think about how impactful it would be having your child write the things they want. I know that we all can't, some of our children can't do that, but we can help them do this and speak on their behalf. And for the school to see, oh, I guess they don't want to play with preschool toys or the same toys and do the same preschool songs year after year. And I think it's just eye-opening to the school sometimes that that's not working. We all know Esme's story where she was kind of in a rut and not really gaining anything until she got a good tutor, and now she's at her school age and everything's relevant to her age and she's doing exactly what she should be at 9 years old. So this is just another example of how to use the trajectory to kind of explain to the school what you want. This one, a person filled out based on like post-secondary after high school planning. They wanted to attend MSU, which is a local college here. They wanted to live on their own, get their own apartment, have independence. They had a dream job of Wonders at Wildlife. They did not want to live with their parents their entire life. I know that that's shocking to us special needs parents, that our kids might actually want to get out on their own one of these days. But I have seen that so many times that what we think life is always going to look like sometimes is when our kids get old enough to make their own decisions is not what it's going to actually look like. So she didn't write, this is like the simpler one where I told you to write things that get us to our trajectory above.
Hey, Heather, it looks blank again on my side. I don't know if it's just me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know why.
There you go. We're good.
Okay, so she didn't write anything under, but she did write over. So these are all things that could just help her get to her good life, was getting her own phone, especially for emergencies, learning about emergency procedures, starting to spend alone time and becoming more responsible, learning how to have friends, attending a base program, graduating high school, attending college. She started working at Candy House in 2010, getting a job at Abilities First. She put that changed her life. Abilities First is like Casey, how would you explain Abilities First? What kind of program is that?
Is it through sorry, Stella's playing on our communication device. Department
of Mental Health, Division of Developmental Disabilities. And it's just our local chapter around here. And then she had a support coordinator that helped her with her future and goals. And so this is kind of a simple one, but really profound. And then this is one I actually made for Tate earlier, just kind of on my own. See if I can blow it up again.
It works.
So this is, if you guys kind of want to get started on some of the simpler settings, this is kind of what I did today. So we are moving into the school program. I did the vision for what I want. I want to prepare Tate to start a more normal school experience in kindergarten. He's only 3 right now. So my goal is maybe in like 2 years, he'll actually attend days without me, things like that. I want a good balance of appointment days versus relaxing days. I want better communication for him. I want a better schedule for him. We need to start making sure if he's going to do school, he needs to be awake during school hours. I want nurses to take over a little bit more of the medical care and for me to step back a little bit. I don't want him to get sick from the school setting. I don't want him to have isolation from kids his age. I don't want to be burnt out from therapy and doctor's appointments. Things that help us get to our goals. I wrote down like exactly how many days a week I want to do different things. I want to get him in children's church and like every once in a while get him in some like activities with people his age, just to do some socialization. I wrote that I had a friend recently that was sharing her goals, and she said that Monday through Friday, they focus on therapy and getting all their equipment and standard time in, making sure they're in their AFOs, certain amount of hours. And I was like, you know what? That's a great idea. Because right now, when I look at every day of the week, trying to do all of the things and make sure he gets in his standard and wears his AFOs and has his hand braces on and his neck brace, and we do feeding therapy and we do all of these things every single day, I don't get anything done and it all goes to shit. So I'm like, I want to focus. I mean, Tate can have a work week. Why don't we focus on those things Monday through Friday? And then on Saturdays and Sundays, if I want to do something, I will. And if not, it's the weekend. We don't have to do all of the therapy things every single day of the week. So I kind of added that into this year's trajectory. I want speech to quit focusing on feeding therapy, and we want to shift our focus to communication. I want to try to wean some heavy sedating drugs, give up control. I'm trying to give up a little control. My nurse has asked, she's been with us for, I don't know, almost a year now. And she said, what can I do to help you more than what I am now? So I'm trying to give up a little bit of control on ordering medical supplies and things like that. So this is just, you guys can kind of start filling out your own stuff now, but this is one I started with and thought maybe it would get your wheels turning for your own stuff. Things below the line that would push us towards what we don't want. I don't want to overdo therapy. I was talking to his therapist just this week, and she's like, you guys do so much with Tate. And I tried to explain to her that the reason we do so much with Tate right now is because I'm not burnt out. If I go to therapy 5 days a week, then I'm not going to come home and play with Tate in the backyard. And that's just how I feel about it. Like, the only way I'm going to be able to take him to do stuff or to do activities with him is if I'm not burnt out from running around like crazy.
Yeah. One of my big things that I am going to write on mine is that not to waste time on therapies that are not beneficial. Because right now I've kind of run into an issue where we had a therapist switch, and like the things that she's doing with Stella, we could literally do at home. I don't have to drive 30 minutes, and it takes 30 minutes to get her pretty much ready, drive 30 minutes to go there for her to play with bubbles for 10 minutes. Like, this is stupid. Oh, yeah. So that's one of my big things, is not feeling bad for saying, we're not going to that therapy if it's not beneficial.
I'm kind of at the point too, where it's like, if I'm going to drive to you, I want you to have something that I don't have at home. Like, I was like, use bubbles at home.
Yeah. Right. I was like, you have swings over here. You have this other thing that we don't have at home. Like, use those equipment, the equipment that you have that we don't. Make it worth our while to come here.
Yes. I also wrote like I need to make sure I prioritize and organize appointments. I don't know about your children's hospitals, but I will not rest until my hospital has booked all of our appointments at the same week. I'm not driving up there. Our hospital's 4 hours away. I'm not driving up there multiple times a month or even every couple months. We do about every 3 to 6 months right now. And you better get them all in one time period or we're not coming. But I mean, looking back, when I look at my calendar, I'm like, we're doing pretty good. Like, we have had some things come up this year. I'm like, but if we can make it going to the hospital or to the doctor every 3 months, that's not bad. Cause I have friends that are literally going every single week. And I'm like, that's really not us. I've somehow managed to combine everybody.
Well, I feel like, if if it was emergent, obviously we would, yes, I'll make whatever
Totally
work.
different.
But if Stella's thing is so loud. He was, if they're like, hey, well, could you go ahead and come in on this day? And I
Nope.
used to be like, I'll make it work. And I would rearrange my entire life to make it work. And I'd be so stressed out. And then finally I was like, why the hell am I doing this? Like, can you make it the following week? Cause that would be a lot easier for me. Well, yeah. Okay. So
Yes.
valuing, I think, your own time and your own sanity
Yeah.
instead of just trying to make it work. Because we're so used to making it work, for everything we have to make work.
Like next week, we're going to St. Louis next week. And I've heard people, they're like, oh, I saw your schedule. You have I think he has 3 appointments Monday, 2 Tuesday, none Wednesday, and then 1 Thursday. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, how are you going to do that? I'm like, you have no idea. That's great. I'm like, we'll go to the St. Louis Zoo. Like, we'll do something fun. It's totally fine. But I would rather be up there and get it all done during 1 week rather than come back in 3 weeks just for one appointment. So does anyone, I feel like we kind of talked a long time tonight. I'm sorry about that. I didn't keep up with my time very good. Does anyone have questions about a trajectory? Anything? Have a topic they really want to talk about?
No, I'm working on what I want to do on our trip this week, coming the next 3 weeks. So I like that it can be really small without having to, especially for my first one, to think of something that's imminent and right now. And honestly, I like that. And then
yes,
to do it with kids,
because you'll be able to get bigger lately, but start small. Like this one that I just created for Tate today. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about the next few months of starting school, like maybe get us to Christmas break.
Yeah.
But then I also I didn't write one out, but today when I was doing all this, I was thinking about our St. Louis trip next week and how I kind of said I was turning it into a vacation. I kind of filled out in my head like all of my vacation and St. Louis stuff on this.
Yeah. It's nice just to even write like I want to do activities that I like when we're gone. So I have to make sure like I like my downtime at the trailer where I want to read for an hour, without let's go for a bike ride. Let's make it this. Let's go do this. Can we go see this? It's like, no, please, but I have to set myself up
for success.
Like, you can't just sit down and do it. I almost have to plan. Okay, here's a great day activity for you Marty, to take the kids so that I can,
right.
That's it. Things have to be planned. Even downtime has to be planned.
It does.
Sucks,
well, and
right?
I think
think about it, but
I think thinking scenarios through ahead of time helps a lot. Because for our St. Louis trip, my husband, we've really been wanting, nobody from Missouri will even care about this, but the St. Louis Cardinals are I just kicked the table, but the St. Louis Cardinals are really close to the Children's Hospital. And they have their main player that was their big all-star came back this year, and it's his last season. And so my husband's like, I'm going to come up for one night while you're there and let's go to a Cardinals game since it's Pujols' last season. Yeah, let's do that. But then I'm thinking, Tate might not really enjoy that. Tate would probably hate a baseball game.
So loud.
It's something that we want to do as a family. And so right now that's filling out this trajectory has made me think about, okay, one, my mom will be up there. So maybe my mom won't care about baseball and will want to just stay and watch him so that we can have a night at the baseball park by ourselves. If she does want to come, I need to look at tickets that have like the air conditioning portion where we can like go in and take a break and still make it an enjoyable experience.
Oh yeah.
But instead of waiting until last minute to plan all of this while I'm in St. Louis, I've already started like looking at stuff and brainstorming and thinking ahead how I can actually logistically make this work.
Yeah. For me, as much as I think I'm a big planner, I'm not. And we have we have a lot of long car rides, coming up for our trip. And Marty and I both tend to be like, hey, get in the car. And then we don't set the kids up for success. We almost set them up for failure sometimes without giving them, we don't overplan their activities in the car, but sometimes even just the seating arrangement, if we don't think ahead, like where everybody needs to sit to have the best car ride. And then for us too, if it's like an 8-hour car ride, to have that, 4 hours, like what's neat and cool that we can stop at that we've never seen before, like kind of like,
So
take that 30-minute detours to see the giant ball of yarn so that,
we never did that until this year. And when we went to Florida, we stopped and saw so many. And I'm like, why don't we do that? It's not, when would you ever drive 4 hours to go see a big ball of yarn or whatever?
Right.
Like,
But
never. But why not? Like, while you're out and about, and if you need a break, like, why not try to find something cool along the way?
My friends found something. So everybody I know is actually going to the East Coast this year. Like, I think every family I know that's going anywhere is going where we're going. And one of our friends just stopped at a chip, like a French fry. No, not a French fry. Sorry, a chip, like potato chip factory, where you can go in and see how the chips are made and then make your own flavor. And then you bugger off. And I'm like, that's a perfect, and I found out where it is. I'm like, hey, it's only 4 hours from here and 3 hours from here. I'm like, this is a perfect little stop.
Yeah.
Figure out one of those cool little places for each stop along the way.
Yeah, you'll have to, because that made our trip so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, you're not just getting to the next pee break, you're getting to a destination.
Yeah, it's like a stop of its own. We stopped at somewhere called Peach Park. It was like the cutest little like roadside area. It had like they had peaches that you could buy, but then they had homemade peach ice cream, homemade peach cobbler.
Oh my
God.
Had
like a swing set. And I mean, it was just something more than like stopping at a gas station.
Yeah.
And getting right back in the car.
Yeah, I'm excited. And then to sit, and actually, I think you were talking about the young teenager doing her own. I think it's important for us to let our kids do this too, because as much as I know my kids, like maybe I don't really know them. And, I know my daughter hates bike riding, and so do I. So my husband he'll load up all 5 bikes knowing that he's going to force us. And I don't want to force her to go. And I don't want to be forced to go on a bike ride. I hate bike riding.
You could really do this for each kid on vacation. Right. Like, what are you wanting out of our vacation? Like, what's something, and then you can try to make everybody happy over the and
at
do
some
something.
aspect. It gets a bit
like
tough.
Like if a kid has something they really want to do, maybe that's something you can do while you're gone.
Yeah. Luckily their expectations are pretty low. Like, let's go to the beach. Okay, good.
I was thinking about having Lincoln and I fill out one for the school year because he's starting middle school. And so like, that's going to be a big transition. So I thought we could fill out one together. And then Ken's looking at.
And sometimes you don't even word it like, what do you not want? Like if you were just talking to him, like, well, what are you nervous about? Like, is there anything you're scared about for the school year? Like, kind of head off some problems that way.
Yeah. And then I thought about having Ken and I sit down and fill out one because he's looking at starting his doctorate possibly this fall. Yeah.
That's amazing, but yikes.
I know. We were kind of like, he's been he's been kind of wanting to do this, honestly, for probably the last at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And then, Stella has a crisis or whatever. And he's like, how can I do this? I can never do this.
No.
Well, he switched jobs, schools, this semester. And so I think it's going to put him in a spot where mentally he can tackle it, because his other job just took too much mental capacity. So he's looking at either starting it, probably not this fall, it'll probably be in the spring. But anyway, so yeah, looking at that. And
Yeah. Wow.
I just don't want him to turn 50 and be like, darn it, I should have done
But
that when I
also
was
you don't want
41.
him, and you don't want him to start it right now. And then all of a sudden you're the only caregiver at home.
Yeah. Luckily right now, I feel like we're kind of set up to where I have quite a bit of help right now during the day. So it might be the best time. So we'll see. So those are kind of some of the other ones. I also really like the idea of doing it once a year for all your kids, or just
I love
general
it.
goals.
I literally just do it for myself too. Like I mean, I don't really love resolutions, but I do kind of too. I don't really like to call them New Year's resolutions, but I like the whole idea of
just goals, starting fresh. And we actually kind of did this and didn't even realize we were doing it. But 1 year it was, we want Stella to have experiences that other kids have. Well, that's when we started swim therapy and horse therapy and things like that. And then it was like, you know what, I think we're going to try to have a vacation. So that's when we did the beach vacation. And then the whole Morgan's Wonderland, that was a big thing that I wanted to do before Lincoln got too old and thought it was not cool.
right.
I have this feeling he has such a big heart that he'll always just tag along and whatever.
Probably. But I definitely think he enjoyed it more this year than he would next year.
Genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's I just love it, because whenever you actually looked at, I looked at for this, I looked back at what my goals for the start of 2022 was. And I'm like, wow,
you're doing it.
I did it. Yeah. I'm like, and that's a good feeling. It's like, there wasn't anything on that goal sheet that we didn't do. I mean, I did transit. We haven't started yet, but I feel pretty good. We're set up for in a couple weeks. We did transition to school. They did listen to what I wanted, and the school met me in the middle of exactly what I wanted for Tate for this year. That has all went super smooth. We did go on vacation and it went well. We've done a ton of outdoor activities.
You went away alone this year.
I know. I went on my own trip. Tate, we went camping. We bought a boat. Tate made it on the lake, and things like that. I'm like, we did it. We actually did it. I had one of those moments today, and it was the stupidest. You guys would get it. It was the stupidest thing, but today I was driving to do grocery pickup, and Tate's monitors in the front seat, and I looked over and I'm like, holy cow, I'm driving to get groceries with Tate right now. Nobody realizes how big of a deal that is even 6 months, a year ago, I could not go get groceries with Tate because he did not ride well in a car seat. He just didn't ride well, and he would choke all the time. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, it really hasn't changed. He does still choke. He still needs help, but I'm just getting so much more confident with him. I know him better. I know his cues. I know things like that. And so I feel comfortable pulling over and finding the area to stop and things like that. And it's just inch stones that you can be proud of. I'm like, it sounds stupid, but I'm really proud of us for going to get groceries. We've been going to get groceries for 2 or 3 times in the last month. And I'm like,
amazing.
When did that happen?
I think we should, and when you say things like that, we should almost start a shout out to yourself kind of thing, a mom moment. Be like, I went to groceries with Tate. To you, that's a huge deal. And
I know. And
in
the future, I'm like, okay, now I'm not even ready for this, but I'm seeing people with their Wonderfold wagons that are actually grocery shopping with their kids. And I'm like, that can be my next goal, to actually go in a store with Tate. Right now we're doing good for grocery pickup, but maybe
make it somewhere cool like Target or something.
That's
Don't go to Walmart.
It would have to
be go shopping with me.
it would have to be at least a fun destination to make it worth it. Like groceries,
yeah.
gives a shit. But if you can wander and pick up all the things that you don't need, like at Costco, and like
Yes.
fill that, like, because
I
groceries
know.
are just groceries, but
I see the parents actually grocery shopping, and I'm like, that cannot be fun. Like,
No,
first of
stick to
all,
the
my
grocery
cart is
pickups.
overflowing when I have like nothing in my cart. So I can't imagine trying to push my kid with an overflowing grocery cart. But yeah, doing like Target or
Back to school shopping or something. That would be fun.
And so I took Henry to Kohl's for the first time on yesterday, and he loved it. Like all the bright lights and the mannequins, he thought it was great. Never been before.
yeah.
I love that we just appreciate all of the little things that most people don't. Like, what other mom is like, I got to take my kid to Kohl's today? Like, no offense, but that, like, what other mom appreciates that besides people in our shoes?
It's so true. I took Lucy into Walgreens yesterday to like pick up her prescriptions for the first time. And I was like, wow, we did an errand together. Like it felt like a big deal.
Yes, and your kids too. Like Tate's 3,
Yeah.
and I'm like, we went to Walmart. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really, it's crazy, but it's true.
Yep, I had that moment.
I teared up.
today, and I was like, I'm just so proud of us.
Yeah, I teared up the first time we went to the movies as a family. We went to the sensory friendly one here at the Alamo. I highly recommend it, Heather. And like it was for Frozen, so of course Stella like loved it, and she was yelling the whole time. And Lincoln was making these little cookies and stuff. We bought the extra package so he could make the cookies, but it was like so fun that we actually got to do something as a family.
I've been thinking about doing that too.
Yeah, highly recommend the sensory friendly one because because you can. It's not as dark. It's not as loud.
I'm like,
It-
Kate would
it can
definitely
make
probably
noise
beep.
without getting in trouble.
Yeah,
Kate
yeah.
will probably beep
It's
at some
acceptable.
point.
Yeah.
And suction.
We go to the autism friendly. They do autism friendly movies. Nico's not one for movies, so we've only done it twice. And the one time we went, he watched 5 minutes of Frozen 2. That's where we went. He watched 5 minutes, and the rest of the time he just rode the escalator up and down in the theater. So we'd go down and around the whole theater up, like, and that's all I wanted to do. And he'd tell me, because we were just potty training at the time, so he'd tell me I have to go pee, just so that we could leave the theater and then ride the escalator. Oh, but he just yelled in the movie, ran around, and it's okay.
Well, I'm totally good to stay on, and we can stay on and chat, but I don't have anything else for everyone. So if you have to hop off, you're more than welcome to, but I'm also just sitting out here enjoying the night. I did put the last slide up. I don't know if it's on there now. It has links. It has my email. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks. The next one, I think it's a really good one. It is about mapping relationships, and it's really good for us. You really kind of write out like what you're doing for your child. And for me, it was really eye-opening to see that I was kind of doing everything and not letting other people help. And so that is a really good one to kind of write out different things that your child needs and who is helping them with that and who could possibly help them with that or do it in the future. So kind of mapping out relationships for your child so your child has more of a support system and a circle of support around them than just one caregiver.
Sounds wonderful. I'm gonna miss.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one too.
I will not.
Oh
be.
yeah,
Yeah.
But you'll be on vacation.
Mhm.
Well, we'll record it for you.
In our island in the middle of nowhere. But
Here.
it's not Bali. It'll be freezing cold.
Yeah.
It's not in the middle of nowhere. There's a hospital. You're fine. You'll
There
be
you
good.
go.
You'll be good.
True, but it kind of is the middle of nowhere with a hospital. The fact that so yeah, it takes 5 hours to get there by boat.
Oh my gosh.
It takes 5 hours to get there by boat.
Where
and the
is
island It's north of Prince Edward Island.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of nowhere when you're on the boat to the island.
Yes.
That's when you're in the middle of nowhere. Once you're on the
That's
island,
when-
you're somewhere.
And that's when like for me, I also have to remember either to bring my medication and bring my tools for anxiety, because I don't do well on bridges or boats. And I get panicky that the boat's going to sink and I'm going to have to like put the life jackets on the kids and throw them overboard. Like I'm going to start living these scenarios until we leave. So I have to start figuring that out too. Because we have to drive from Nova Scotia or New Brunswick to Prince Edward Island. And I think that the bridge is almost an hour. You're on a bridge for an
Oh
hour.
my gosh. That gives me anxiety too.
Yeah, you're on a bridge in a car for an hour, and then the 1 hour or the 5 hours on a boat to the next.
I mean, you guys know we all have like PTSD problems with anxiety now, but mine has gotten, and it's so ridiculous. I can laugh about it because it's stupid, but mine has gotten so bad about like, I don't know how to word this. Like